the 20-something-year-old thinkers. Chat, this is a meme about sophistry. I want you to be honest with me, chat. Press 1 if you have used any of these sophistic nonsense expressions or ideas in the last few years. If you've used them in an argument. Odo says this is you doing the drunken peasant stage. No, I don't think I was quite this bad. Maybe a couple of these. Maybe a couple of these. But not most of them. A few of them, I think, like, the point of these is not that they are false. The problem is that they are commonly used by people who have learned a few, like, terms, and that's all the thinking that they can do. They've learned a few, like, concepts that they have found useful for shutting things down or something like that. A few of them I might slightly contend. Like, nuance is important, but you can take it too far. You can use the notion of nuance to deflect any conclusions, even partial conclusions, which I don't think I ever did, but I wouldn't recommend. Language shapes thought is actually kind of an interesting idea because it's readily accepted by a lot of people. And I've seen a debunk of it, actually, that says that language doesn't shape thought. But I'm not sure. I think it might do. I'm still not sure on that one. You know, any given debunk, there's always going to be little holes where the truth could flow through. So I'm not sure about that one. I would have guessed it does. Artificial intelligence is something I talk about, but then who the hell doesn't these days? The rest of it is pretty cringe. As I said, not untrue, just when you bring it up, you know, you're probably dealing with like maybe a high-end midwit who's just learned a few of these things and just about knows what they mean. Infographics and video essay consumer is kind of cringe. Infographics are sometimes useful, but they're usually for hiding information rather than displaying it. Chat, any guesses as to what my least favorite item on this list is? The item in this set, which I hate the most. Any guesses in chat? Gareth says, can you have a concept of meta-concepts like philosophy without language? Yes, but that does not disprove the question. And that's merely one distant part of it. Somnus says, it wasn't in an argument, but I did discuss the Heisenberg uncertainty principle as a practical application of Schrödinger's cat. It sounds like you were using it fairly well, like you were just discussing. You were using it as an example rather than using it as like a deflection. Actually, chat, the one on here that I find the most displeasing, the most unpleasant, the most repulsively sophistic is, what if we live in a simulation? But bruh, what if we live in a simulation, man? Yeah, it's one of those things where it is no different than saying, but what if we're all brains in jars? Or what if our consciousness generates the universe? It's one of those things where they probably say it specifically because you can't prove it wrong, because the nature of the claim is that it's beyond perception. You can't prove it right either, obviously. But similar to God, actually. So if an atheist says, what if we live in a simulation, he is making a similar kind of claim to the God claim. One which is shaped such that it's theoretically immune to either proving or disproving, and thus indistinguishable from something unreal. So yeah, that's fucking cringe. Yeah, we could be living in a simulation. We could be brains in a jar. Can't disprove it. But there's no reason to believe it. And even if it was true, it wouldn't make any fucking difference. The best argument I heard for the simulation, which is still not a good one, is just a probability one, where any universe that is real is likely to be able to house, eventually, more than one simulated universe. And so there is a greater chance that we are living in a simulated universe than a real one, simply by the pressure of those numbers. Now, there's several reasons why I don't find this persuasive. Firstly, truth doesn't follow random chance. Secondly, we don't even know if a universe of this complexity is possible to simulate, so you haven't established it's possible to be one of them, let alone many. And I suppose the question of, and this is a more general one, is that what's the difference between a real universe and a simulated universe? Contingency, i.e. one is contingent on the other. Simulated could be a bit of a misnomer then. On a positive note, the universe is running Doom. It's true, it is occasionally. Playing RimWorld right now, that's one simulated universe. Anyone else? You could call that a universe if you want to. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's what they mean by that. You would need at least 7 RTX 4090s to run our worlds as glitches, which no one can afford, and therefore bullshit. It's a good point. It's very true. I don't think so, Ezreal, no. I mean, you don't use a floppy disk for simulation. You use a floppy disk for storage. And what I just said there was a little bit pedantic, but it does impose the need for you to discuss what actually is happening there, at which point we can explain why it doesn't make sense. Next meme.